The most powerful navies in 2030 will be a reflection of the broader state of the world. Some countries are invested in preserving the current international order and see naval power as a means to maintain it. Other emerging countries are building navies commensurate with their newfound sense of status, often with an eye towards challenging that order. The eastward shift in naval power will continue in 2030, a product of both declining defense budgets in Europe and growing economies in Asia. While the most powerful navies of the Cold War were concentrated largely in Europe, by 2030 both China and India will be on the list, with Japan and South Korea as runners-up, also fielding large modern naval forces. Ship-wise, there are two classes that will define the most powerful navies: aircraft carriers and ballistic missile submarines. Aircraft carriers reflect the need to maintain a global or even regional power projection capability. Ballistic missile submarines reflect a maturation and diversification of a country's nuclear arsenal, with an eye toward maintaining a second strike capability in case of surprise attack. More than any other type, those two will define naval power in the early to mid-21st century. The United States, the dominant naval power worldwide in 1945, will continue to dominate the seas 85 years later. By 2030 the Navy will be halfway through its 30-year shipbuilding plan and have built 3 Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carriers to begin replacing existing Nimitz-class carriers. Amphibious ship numbers should be slightly higher than current numbers, and the first ship in class to replace the Ohio ballistic missile submarines should enter service in 2031. In surface combatants, all 3 Zumwalt-class cruisers will be in service, assuming the program remains fully funded, and the Navy will have built 33 more Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. A next-generation version of the littoral combat ship will enter production in 2030. Under current plans, the U.S. Navy should reach its 300-ship goal between 2019 and 2034, but after that period the number of surface combatants begins to drop. These plans also assume a higher than average shipbuilding budget, while at the same time the service must compete with the budget demands of other services, particularly the Air Force and domestic programs. While U.S. naval superiority isn't ending anytime soon, the period after 2030 will be a critical one. The Royal Navy of 2030 will be paradoxically the smallest and yet most powerful in the history of the United Kingdom. A combination of 2 aircraft carriers and a fleet of ballistic missile submarines will make the Royal Navy the strongest navy after the US. The Royal Navy's surface fleet, currently at 19 destroyers and frigates, will shrink even further to 6 Type 45 guided missile destroyers, 8 global combat ship frigates. The number of nuclear-powered attack submarines will remain constant at 7. The Royal Navy is responsible for the UK's nuclear deterrent and currently operates 4 Vanguard-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, each equipped with 16 launch tubes for Trident D5 missiles. The Vanguard class is expected to be replaced with the successor class starting in 2028. The UK's sea-based power capability is the Queen Elizabeth class of aircraft carriers. The 2 conventionally powered ships, Queen Elizabeth and Prince of Wales, each displace 65,000 tons fully loaded and capable of carrying up to 50 aircraft. The 2 carriers are optionally double as amphibious transports capable of carrying up to 900 Royal Marines or troops of the Army's 16th Air Assault Brigade. The China Navy of 2030 will continue to build their Navy fleet. Currently China has 4 major ship hulls. It seems to be content with the Type 052D guided missile destroyer, Type 054A frigate, Type 056 corvette, and Type 071 amphibious transport. All 4 are mature designs in large-scale production that will form the bulk of the fleet in 2030. By one prediction, by 2030 the China Navy will have 99 submarines, 4 aircraft carriers, 102 destroyers and frigates, 26 corvettes, 73 amphibious ships and 111 missile craft, a whopping 415 ships in total, to approximately 309 in the US Navy of 2030. This would put China in a solid position as the world's largest navy by number of ships. Other ships under construction will form China's fleet in 2030 are the Type 055 destroyer and Type 001A aircraft carrier. India has begun pouring enormous resources into its naval service and as a result by 2030 could have one of the top 5 navies on the planet. Barring unforeseen naval developments in other countries, by 2030 India will have the second largest carrier fleet in the world, with 3 flat tops. If all goes according to plan, India will have 3 aircraft carriers, Vikramaditya, Vikrant and Vishal, together fielding a total of about 110 up to 120 aircraft. India will also have at least 9 destroyers, including 2 guided missiles of the Kolkata class, 3 of the Delhi class, and 4 of the in-construction Visakhapatnam class. India is in the process of standing up a sea-based leg of its nuclear triad, with the first ballistic missile submarine, Arihant, expected to be operational soon. The combination of a downturn in oil prices and Western sanctions from its annexation of the Crimea will put a crimp in Russia's economic stride for the near future. After economic growth of up to 6% annually, Russia is in recession with no immediate end in sight. A plan to replace 90% of Russian military equipment, including ships and naval equipment, has stalled. By 2030, Russia's position on this list will be in large part due to its ballistic missile submarine fleet. 8 Borei submarines, each carrying 20 Bulava missiles, will be in service, forming the second largest ballistic missile submarine fleet in the world. Project 23000E, or known as Storm, would be a nuclear-powered carrier 330 meters long and displacing 100,000 tons, making it the closest competitor to a Ford-class carrier. Nuclear-powered, the carrier will embark up to 100 aircraft, including a navalized version of the PAKFA 5th-generation fighter. There's also the gigantic Lighter-class nuclear-powered destroyer. At 17,500 tons and 200 meters long, armament will consist of 60 anti-ship cruise missiles, 128 anti-aircraft missiles, and 16 anti-ship guided missiles.